What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Have some fun stuff to get into today, whether it's the Zelda job listing that seemed to pop up in the news with Nintendo seemingly hiring for the next Zelda game. We're going to talk a bit about that. Some sales charting, at least, positions for Tropical Freeze, which might surprise some people. Maybe it won't, depending on how you feel its pricing is right now from Nintendo. Some people aren't happy. Some people are like, I haven't played it yet, so I'm going to pick it up. You might be surprised. We'll see about that. Also, Crazy Justice. We talked about that a bit yesterday. It seems that developers Black Riddles actually talked a bit about when we could be seeing it, as people are trying to get, I guess, their fix for some sort of Battle Royale mode on the Nintendo Switch. They did answer some questions and told us that June appears to be their target month to be putting this game out. Again, it will have crossplay in a full Battle Royale mode, 60 frames per second between the Switch, Xbox, and the PC, which is exciting for a lot of people. So with that, guys, let's get started. So Nintendo published a job listing for a designer, a level designer specifically, for a new Zelda project that's been started, and it's hard to say where in development this game is. Now, here's the listing you're going to see here, and it appears to be a contracting position, one that I guess isn't permanent employment and will end after a set period. The salary is large range, probably depending on experience, for anywhere from almost $35,000 up to almost $75,000, and Nintendo will be paying a housing allowance, moving allowance, and daily transportation fees. So they obviously want someone who is talented and skilled at working on, from what they're asking for, dungeons, the field, which is probably map, cutscenes, as well as designing enemies. So they are looking for people who can really design a game around like something like a Zelda. And it's kind of interesting to a lot of people to see that, well, Zelda is being developed. It's something I don't think anyone's surprised with the massive success of Breath of the Wild, them seemingly finishing up the DLC for that. You kind of expect them to start on the next project, considering Breath of the Wild took a long time to get out. I mean, we're figuring another 4 years for this Zelda to get done. But what if they're also working on another Zelda game? Maybe this is part of that, where they're going to try to get it out a little sooner using the Breath of the Wild engine, right? They kind of designed that game engine. A lot of people like the way the game plays. They like the open world. What if they're going to do something like what they did with Majora's Mask, where they used the Ocarina of Time engine, kind of modified it somewhat to fit what they wanted for that game with the time-altering aspects, and they release another game that's similar to Breath of the Wild, but different enough to be a new game? I don't know if people would be sad about that. People like Breath of the Wild. I don't think people would be annoyed if it's a new game. Yeah, I say bring it on. Either way, I always look forward to Zelda, so I would like to see one sooner, but this could be a project that kind of comes up to the end of the Switch's lifespan, 4 years from now, when we get the next big Zelda game, new engine and everything. But let me know if you would rather have a new Zelda game with all new engine and everything designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch, or were you okay with Breath of the Wild's engine and would like to see them kind of expand on that more and design it just for the Nintendo Switch, not have that cross-platform with designing for the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch? Because then, I mean, that means they could probably get it out faster and maybe work on the other one at the same time. Let me know what you guys think down below. While we're on the topic of Zelda Breath of the Wild, let's talk about a modding project that seems extremely ambitious right now. And you're going to see some of the gameplay and trailer here for this project, and the idea is to pretty much bring in Zelda herself as a playable character throughout the story. I mean, seriously, they're designing everything around this character, and originally they had an issue because Zelda only appeared in pre-rendered cutscenes, at least until they figured out that there was an unfinished Zelda model in the game code. So they actually used that, and they're designing armor, journal entries are being rewritten, everything so you can play as Zelda in this game. Of course, this does appear to be for the version, as you would expect, that people emulate and play on their computers. But man, this is a big undertaking, and they even have actually a pretty large dev team, believe it or not, for this, up to almost 20 people, and it's something else to see this. I mean, I would like to try it. It's more Breath of the Wild, I guess, even though it's not done by Nintendo. But this is kind of where you start to get into territory where Nintendo might start setting out that cease and desist order because you're using their game assets and changing things up. We'll have to see what happens here, but this looks like something I could see Nintendo trying to kind of swat down, but I would actually like to try it out before they do that. Next up, let's talk about probably a crossover that no one really saw coming, I guess. So Fortnite and Infinity Wars, Marvel Infinity Wars, is going to be crossing over. In fact, Thanos, with the Infinity Gauntlet in full, will be entering Fortnite for a limited time. It's starting May 8th, so today it's starting, and you will actually get to play, of course, a Battle Royale mode, except you can transform into Thanos and just roll around destroying everyone using the Gauntlet, which is pretty interesting. It's a limited time event, so it's not going to be terribly long, I guess. We just kind of know the start date, and then I guess they'll end it as they go through and everything finishes up. But what a weird crossover to see. And it just kind of shows Fortnite's willingness to try to stay current and update and make these kind of partnerships. And it kind of shows why PUBG has really fallen by the wayside. I mean, they're so interested in just getting the game working correctly that they're kind of missing out on some of this stuff. And Epic, of course, is larger than that team. So they got their game all optimized and pretty and everything. And maybe you do prefer PUBG, but it's hard not to look over at Fortnite and say, that game's free and they're getting all this awesome stuff. I mean, you could buy into Fortnite, of course, but you can also just download for free. Man, Fortnite is kind of hitting on all cylinders at this point, right? I mean, they're just absolutely crushing it, and this is just another example of them pushing and pushing and pushing to try to become the Battle Royale game if they haven't already. I kind of tend to look at it and say, well, more people know about Fortnite now than PUBG, which, by the way, is crazy to think about. But hey, if you want to be Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet in Fortnite, you'll be able to do it today. Next up, let's talk about Pokemon Go Fest. Do you remember when this took place last year? It was kind of a disaster. People couldn't get good reception. There were too many people in one place. It was congested, so like cell towers were really struggling. I remember they were calling out like emergency cell on wheels, like at the last minute, try to get things working. Verizon, AT&T, everybody was scrambling because so many people gathered to try to capture Pokemon. And of course, you had to capture a set amount for you to unlock stuff, and people spent a lot of money to go, and it was overall a very poor performance by Niantic and Pokemon Go. In fact, if you remember, they went out on stage, CEO and everybody else, and they were just getting booed off the stage. They were chanting at them like it's not working, all this stuff. It was a disaster. Well, they're going to take another shot this year, and the CEO even kind of talked a bit about what they've learned and how they're going to kind of fix this and make this better at a technical level, saying all of the major carriers are deploying COWs, or cells on wheels, so there will be mobile network hotspots from all the major carriers set up in such a way that we believe we will have full coverage, efficient coverage for everybody throughout the park. And again, our understanding and our ability to communicate with our partners exactly what the network traffic looks like and really technically profiling it and communicating it on a technical level, we're much better at that than we were a year ago. So that's been the formula that we used last year in Yokohama and Tottori and other places to really work closely with those network providers. So this makes a lot of sense. They have data from last year, right, where they got pummeled by network traffic and everything and they couldn't keep up. But they can kind of look back now and see what they need. You can contact Verizon and T-Mobile and AT&T and I guess Sprint, even though Sprint and T-Mobile are technically together now. But you can contact all these providers and have these cell on wheels in mass ready to go, right? Because it's going to be crazy. If they didn't have any issues with their networking back then last year, it probably would have gone over fine, I think, right? Maybe it was hot, maybe, or, concessions were dry at times, but that's not really what they came there for. They came there to capture Pokemon with all of the other enthusiasts in Pokemon Go, and if you can't do that, well, why did you go to a park in Chicago in the first place then? So I'm hoping it works out well because people spent a lot of money last year and I think they got coins and they just gave them the Pokemon that they all went there to work to unlock anyway. They just kind of gave them away. So we'll see. This is coming up pretty soon, July 14th and the 15th in Chicago. It's return to Chicago. You can get tickets and everything. And I guess if you want to head out there, just be ready for the possibility of disappointment because, man, having that many people, there's like 30,000 people or something. I don't know how networks can keep up easily, but we'll see him take another shot at it this July. And our last bit of news, let's talk about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I know, I've heard you guys, I say Donkey Kong weird. I don't know what to tell you. I'll say Tropical Freeze, okay? Tropical Freeze's sales in the UK, because we did at least get sales charts, and it's looking pretty good. It's looking promising. And I guess it's not surprising, as I've talked to people before, the Switch user base now, I'd be shocked if half of that group was with the Wii U. In fact, I bet you it's less now. It's probably like 30% were Wii U owners that have moved to the Switch. Honestly, the Switch has a lot of newcomers to Nintendo, and we're kind of seeing this now with Tropical Freeze in the UK. Here's the sales charts here. At the top, God of War, of course. God of War I want it to keep selling, so I'm glad to see it here at the #1 spot. It's going to be more curious to see it in something like Japan going forward, but it's been doing well there too. Yep, #1, God of War. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. There it is, #2. It is technically a re-entry because the Wii U version still apparently sold 44 copies that week, but this Tropical Freeze sold over 53% more than what the Wii U did in its first week, and of course Tropical Freeze came out on Friday, so this is 2 days being tracked, Friday and Saturday. Far Cry 5 actually got bumped from the #2 spot down to #3 because of Tropical Freeze. FIFA 18 still staying at 4. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a constant in the UK sales charts at #5. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 actually had a pretty large jump up to #6. Fallout 4 at 7. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds #8. Battlefront 2 at 9. And then Mario Odyssey did drop 1 spot down to #10. Labo also dropped from the top 10. The Variety Kit dropped down to #13. It lost about 60% of its sales from week to week. Remember, it was in #3 spot. And the Robot Kit is just gone. It didn't even make the top 40. But honestly, the Variety Kit's probably more interesting, it was to me, than the Robot Kit. It's easier. There's more you can do with younger kids or just yourself, you know. And a lot of people are interested in things like the piano, the Toy-Con Garage, and things like that. So I understand why that's the case. But man, Tropical Freeze, #2 in the UK charts is pretty big. And we also got some word that it's doing well in Japan, which we'll keep an eye out for that Media Create sales chart because, yeah, it looks like Tropical Freeze is going to blow past the Wii U version of the game, despite everybody in an uproar about the pricing. It seems like the vocal minority is yelling and, well, the majority who wants the game is spending. So there you go. It's going to continue doing well, probably. It'll be curious to see how it does with future sales going forward. If it can maintain a top, say, 20 spot in the UK sales charts, it's going to be successful there. And the Media Create will be very interesting as well to see if it can maintain a top 10 spot for the first 2 months or so. It's going to blow past the Wii U version. And honestly, that's good because that game, while people are frustrated with the pricing, it's still a good game. I mean, seriously, if the Wii U version didn't exist, this was a brand new game and it comes out at $60, no one would be talking about it. But honestly, I understand why some people are frustrated because they didn't add a ton and they actually made the price $10 more from when it first released back on the Wii U. Although, to be fair, I think it came out at that price on the Wii U because they were desperate to sell anything on that system since the sales for the system were so dry at the time. I feel like that was just a little discount because, well, they needed something to spark the Wii U, and unfortunately that didn't do it as much. The Switch version is going to blow past this, no problem. And we'll just keep an eye on the sales charts going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Are you surprised that Tropical Freeze taking the #2 spot in the UK sales charts? I'm not surprised that God of War continues to take #1. It is a very good game, and I understand it should be at '1. It should lead the charts probably throughout this month, to be honest. I don't really know what else is going to knock it off. But we'll see. Maybe I guess Detroit and everything is coming eventually. We'll see if that works to knock off God of War at some point. Let me know what you think, though, about this Tropical Freeze sales, and if you're surprised based on the pricing. Also, what about the Zelda job listing? Are you thinking that it's going to be a new Zelda game that's going to be years and years out, or you think they're working on one using the same Breath of the Wild engine to kind of accelerate the development time? I'm very curious. Your thoughts, guys, all that and more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.